What's going on, people? Welcome to the breakdown. Today we're going to be taking a look at a right-wing video. Tucker Carlson, the fucking bully, is going to be taking on University of Chicago student Jake Biddle. And he's just going to try to make it seem like this kid is an idiot, but he's one of my new favorite people, honestly. Just with almost every response, he makes Tucker look just more and more idiotic. So without any further ado, let's get into the video.
But not everyone on campus believes Spicer should be allowed to talk in public. They argue that by inviting a Trump supporter to campus, the school is, quote, normalizing the incoming administration. Some students are threatening to shut down the event entirely. One of those joins us now. He is University of Chicago senior Jake Biddle. He's also an editor of a local weekly paper. Jake, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me, Tucker.
I like your tie. So you have...
Oh my God, right there, off the jump, one of the best comebacks I've heard just for Tucker Carlson. It even rattled him and got him kind of flustered and kind of tries to laugh it off. But you could tell he kind of felt the condensation. Wow, what am I in science class? Felt the condescension in his thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
On Facebook that you wanted to shut this thing down, and you suggested projectile vomiting during the event, which I assume was a joke. But the idea was that this guy, Sean Spicer, should not be allowed to speak. And I read a lot of what you wrote about it, and one of your explanations was, well, he represents a press operation that is hostile to freedom of speech and to the freedom of the press. Therefore, he shouldn't be allowed to talk. There seems an irony in that. He's against freedom of speech, so you don't let him talk?
So right off the jump, Tucker Carlson makes a pretty good point about how the kid said something that was kind of anti-freedom of speech, but let's give the kid a chance to explain himself.
How does that work?
Sure. So what I was saying was not that he shouldn't be allowed to talk. Rather, what I was saying was that I, as a student, and yes, it was a joke when I said that I was going to projectile vomit on him, although I'm glad that I made it because now I get to explain what I meant to you. So what I meant was that I, as a student, and my peers should be allowed to respond to his presence on my campus in ways that aren't just civil or decorous and don't involve just sort of standing up after the event and asking him a question. Although I never said he should be disinvited, and I never said he shouldn't be allowed to talk.
But in ways that involve force, I mean, it sounds like. I mean, so when you say we should be allowed to respond, how about the traditional path, which is to make a counter case? You disagree with what he stands for, which is, of course, fine. And you say, this is what I stand for, and may the best man win. You don't believe in it. Again,
another little thing I got to give to Tucker. It's a fair point. Why wouldn't you just try to make the counter argument and sort of build your case? At least that's a good point to make for viewers to make sure they hear his side of the story. So kudos to you, Tucker. Pretty sure we're about to dig in your ass, though.
Yeah, it seems like.
Sure. So Sean Spicer was hired and is paid to have certain opinions and to support certain policies about the press. He has power, a national platform. He's in the news every day, and he has access to policy-making power. If I stand up and ask him a question and say, Sean, have you ever considered that you might be a fascist? He can give me a smarmy answer. It lasts 20 seconds, and I don't get a follow-up. And then what do? I'm saying I would like to raise visibility and voice my frustrations with this person in ways that aren't sort of going to die after 20 seconds, and he gives me, sort of a non-answer.
The kid makes a great point. What if the guy gives him some bullshit answer just so he could get him off the stage or get him off the mic and on to the next question? Now that question gets lost in a heap of others and nobody comes away really learning anything, and especially the kid that wants change. So if you're going to want change, you're going to want to make sure that people see it. So, of course, it's just, this guy Tucker is just a fucking idiot. Let's keep going.
Sure. So, I mean, I think that no matter what kind of case I make and no matter how good of a point I make to him, he has no reason to listen to me and no incentive to listen to me. I mean, this isn't about who's right. It's about who has power. And so I think that students in this country need to mobilize in ways that would actually get people that we like in office instead of sort of discussing in sanitized environments and, in moderated conversations. Does that make sense?
It sort of does. And just to help you elucidate it more, I want to put on the screen something that you wrote in your school newspaper. Recently, the independent school newspaper, you said this: now we're faced with a real crisis, this being the election of Trump. We must take real action and dispense with all this sophistry, all these abstract notions of civility, which are just Ivy League translations of the vulgar give Trump a chance. By real action, I mean donating money to the ACLU, to Standing Rock, to Planned Parenthood, calling your representative incessantly, protesting obsessively, flipping cars when Trump walks away from the Paris Climate Agreement, attacking racists you see attacking people in the supermarket, whatever it takes. So I've got a bunch of questions about this, but the first is, whose cars would you flip?
I don't know yet. I mean, it depends on whether or not he walks away from the Paris Climate Accords. I mean, I think that if you dwell on the sort of more exaggerated or hyperbolic parts of this article, which is, after all, just an article, you're not going to get a chance to actually ask me what I think political action constitutes. I mean, all that this is meant to express, Tucker, is that...
And of course, Tucker asked the most ridiculous question. Whose cars would you flip? Shut the fuck up, Tucker. He obviously didn't mean that. He can't lift a fucking car. And he's not going to call, hey, everybody, come with me. Let's go flip a car. No, what he means is a sort of a hype, not a hyper, just he wants people to get so upset that this guy is not taking the climate change threat seriously that they want to flip cars. They want to go out there and cause at least some sort of some sort of disruptance or some sort of thing to let people know that they're upset, because obviously they don't feel like their voice is being heard because of people like Tucker only hearing the most abstract part of the fucking statement.
Wait a second, you were just explaining what I mean, first of all, let me say, having read things you've written going back to, high school, because you've written a lot, you're a pretty articulate person with a precise command of the language, and presumably in an article this long, you could explain exactly what that action, what form it would take, and in this case, you said it takes flipping cars over, and my point is, someone paid for those cars. Like, those aren't your cars, and to destroy other people's property to make your political point isn't really a valid path, is it?
Okay, so the kid is guilty of one thing, and that's of being a kid and saying what he's literally thinking in his article without giving it too much forethought. Now, with that being said, the kid, everything that he said that was hyperbolic or an extreme example of something is very obvious. It's not like, oh, we should do this, wink, wink. No, he's been, oh yeah, we should go out there and flip cars if we don't get our way. Obviously, he doesn't mean it. I mean, not obviously, I don't know. I don't know this kid personally, but what I'm saying is from everything that he sounds like someone that wouldn't go out there just to flip cars unless he felt like there was no other recourse.
Well, first of all, they flipped cars when the Cubs won. But secondly, Tucker, I mean, so I think that, yeah, it's an article, and I exaggerated. But, I mean, I'm trying to explain now what I think I actually mean by political action that doesn't consist in sort of sanitized or moderated Q&A sessions or bipartisan roundtables at the Institute of Politics. And I think that you want to say that this way of engaging in politics is sort of a young, petulant thing among closed-minded liberals. But really, the sort of ancestry of this kind of action is the Tea Party. I mean, they staged massive demonstrations, they called their representatives incessantly, and they got people that they wanted in office through a grassroots mobilization. I mean, there was big money involved, but frankly, there was a lot of political participation in that.
Notice as Tucker has nothing to say about his comparison to the Tea Party because the kid is spot on. That is exactly what the Tea Party was doing. They did everything. They obstructed. They took charge of places. They made sure their voices were heard, not in debate halls. They made sure that their representatives knew their phone number. They made sure that they even some of them showed up outside of the people's houses. Like, come on, how much more intimidating can you get? And it's still, forget it being legal. Fuck being legal. It got their point across, and nobody condemned them for it. So obviously Tucker has nothing to say, so he's going to go back on something else the kid said and not something he just pointed out.
Right.
I don't think that it's fair to say that what I'm doing is sort of catastrophic or intolerant, when really what I'm trying to argue is that young people need to be politically mobilized in ways that don't just involve talking and asking questions and going back and forth.
And like knowing things. So like, what about the Paris climate agreement do you like so much?
So if America were not to participate in this climate accord, carbon levels would rise so much in the world that it would sort of put us past the point where we can bring it back down in a safe or efficient way.
That suggests you know nothing.
Yeah.
No, you suggested you know nothing about it. See, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, this kid is not a scientist. This kid doesn't study the numbers. He has classes to go to. He has midterms. He has finals. Your job is to research news, Tucker. So why did you do more research on this kid than you would the Paris Climate Agreements? That makes no fucking sense. You're a fucking hack moron that's sitting on Fox News. Oh my God, this guy really is just the bane of my existence. He's just everything an intelligent person aspires not to be. Close-minded, fucking moronic. Let's continue, please. I can't wait to hear more.
Let me just ask you this. Don't you think...
Just because I don't have the numbers on it doesn't mean I don't know anything about it.
I'm saying, look, if you're going to... Here's my point. Is that you're the editor of a weekly paper. People listen to you, and rather than explain, here's why you ought to support the Paris Climate Agreement, your position is, if you don't believe everything I think I believe, even if I have no details, then I'm going to flip your car over. I'm going to vomit on you. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to commit an act of violence. I'm going to beat you up in a supermarket. That's not really debate. That's something dumber, no?
Tucker, how could I possibly make the case to the Trump administration that he ought not to walk away from the Paris Climate Accords?
I don't know about knowing what it is. That might help. But
You said you don't know what it is. So what's the difference between you and him right now? In your mind? Nothing. You're equals. Shut the fuck up. Stop laughing at the kid. Laugh at yourself.
What about how could I possibly make a point in a way that would make him want to listen to me? I mean, it's not about sort of who can make better points, and this guy has a platform. He has control of the country and can do whatever he wants, no matter what he wants. It's not about whether I can convince him and his administration that it's wrong. It's about whether I can make sure that he feels enough pressure that he won't do it and doom the future of our planet.
So what you're articulating isn't politics, it's nihilism. You're saying that none of this matters.
No,
it's
Tucker,
all
that's
kabuki,
absolutely wrong.
And whoever has the gun is the guy in charge. That's basically what you're saying.
Tucker, no, that's exactly what I'm not saying. I'm saying that I have convictions, and I would like to express them on terms that are not set by my opponent. Do you understand what I mean?
No, he doesn't understand what you mean, because he's about to set your fucking parameters right after you ask him, do you know what I mean? See, Tucker Carlson he's so blind to the fact that he's the one holding the gun. He's the one, the Trump administration is the one holding the gun. We are we've been to their will because they don't listen to us. They don't, and the whole thing about, violence is not the way to go, debate. No. If that was the case, black people would still be slaves, women wouldn't have the right to vote, and Jews would still be in internment camps. Not Jews, excuse me. Asians would still be in American internment camps. Listen, violence is a last resort, but it's still a resort that should not be taken off the table.
Right. Well, I think we can all agree on these terms. Rational, elucidated, facts-based debate carries the day.
Like I just said, you just set the terms for him. Fucking moron. if people only did things the way Tucker Carlson approved of, nothing would get done, or nothing of extreme significance would get done, because it's just amazing to me that this guy is so much of a fucking idiot. And I'm not going to sit here and say that violence shouldn't be met with consequences, or any actions, any illegal actions shouldn't be met with legal consequences. If I'm protesting and I do so in an illegal manner, I expect there to be punishment and repercussions for my actions. That does not mean that my actions are invalid. Martin Luther King protested during his time. It was illegal the way he was protesting. They arrested him multiple times. Judges convicted him multiple times. But if we look back on history, he's a fucking saint. Well, not really how he treated his wife, but besides that, we're talking about socially. He's a saint. He did more for one race of people than almost any individual person ever has. As far as being seen in the light that we should be seen in that which is equals. So with that being said, Tucker Carlson, if we didn't have the hindsight of 2020, you would have agreed with the judges that convicted Martin Luther King. You would have agreed that, listen, I understand black people don't have rights, but you don't have the right to do what you do. No, listen, if you feel something is strong, if you feel as strongly as this kid does on these Paris Accords and the climate change summit, listen, do what you have to do. Know that there will be repercussions for their actions, but do what you have to do to protect your planet, because it is your planet. Tucker Carlson is going to die pretty soon. Not literally, I mean in the terms of compared to the kid, in the terms of actual living lifespan ratio. The kid could get hit by a car tomorrow, and Tucker Carlson could live in a vacuum. His brain could live in a vacuum for the rest of the life, even though that would be a crime against humanity. Could still happen, but I'm just talking about in the abstract, projecting forward. Tucker Carlson's going to die pretty soon. He doesn't have to worry about the planet. This kid does. So if he feels this strongly, do what you have to do, regardless of what this asshole has to say about it. Thank you for listening to The Breakdown.